Before COVID-19, weddings were scheduled, I was given a fellowship opportunity, and my job as the adventure trip manager was in full swing. Since then, graduation feels like a passing thought. It's April 28th, 2020, and yesterday was my last day of class. The past 4 years have provided me with opportunity and growth, but it feels like graduation has been suspended in time, because the only thing changing from my day to day is pretty much just the food in my fridge. I'm not the only person affected by COVID-19. A whole nation of students and teachers have been left to navigate virtual learning in a time of isolation.
Effective immediately, I've ordered the closing of all schools in the state of South Carolina.
Being a student right now and completing my final required courses, I know the weight of the situation placed on college students, and during this process of online learning, I started thinking, what about educators? So I sat down with 4 different dedicated elementary school teachers from 4 different school districts to discuss the effect COVID-19 is having on education and what is behind all of the colorful pens and bubbly fonts.
I would say I totally miss the face-to-face contact with my students and being able to teach in a formal classroom setting.
I just miss connecting with my kids and seeing them every day. I mean, like, they're like my kids, like 20 of my children. So, I mean, I just, like my girls like still like to give me hugs, and I miss that. And
one of my strengths, I think, is that I build relationships with the kids so that they trust me, so that they want to work for me. It's hard to build a relationship like this, right?
I miss seeing them every day, and as taxing as it can be sometimes to be one adult helping 28 kids, it's also the energy that you get from those kids to do that.
The issue being, which is pretty typical of kids, is they're not paying attention. When you get on a computer program, they basically are like, all right, and they get a 60 and they expect you to give them a 100. So there's been some issues with that, and that's where the parental support comes in.
But I am hearing from lots of parents that it's hard, so the kids who were struggling in the classroom are still struggling at home. And so hearing from the parents, like, I can't get them to do more than 10 minutes of work. And I'm like, that's exactly what it was like in the classroom. Like,
the students that have a genuine love of learning and support at home will probably show gains. However, my students that struggle and lack support from home will probably regress, and it'll be more than just a summer slide. And the fall will be a telling time. So teachers are going to have to face a lot of work ahead of them to get our students caught up. Instead of me getting new 3rd graders, I'll be getting, 4th quarter 2nd graders.
One of the first things the government did when making the shift to online learning was to cancel standardized testing for this year. They are designed to survey curriculum needs, but in some states, test scores determine teachers' performance, which can also alter their pay. As a student who grew up taking numerous standardized tests a year, I feel like my abilities were not represented. In elementary school, I was never able to qualify for the Gifted and Talented program because my standardized test scores were never good enough. I had the grades and the work ethic, but me, like many others, I'm not a good test taker, especially when it comes to standardized tests.
Giving teachers the chance to teach without worrying about making sure kids are prepared for a test, or actually it's allowing us to teach deeper and teach better than we've been able to teach during this time of year in the past. Right now, if I was back in school, I would be test prepping.
It's always a really nerve-wracking time. We spend a lot of time preparing the kids for the state tests. In fact, coming off of spring break is when we were going to have to start doing that. But because we don't have that to worry about, it's been kind of a relief.
Even before COVID-19, private schools did not have to abide by the same rules as other schools in their respective states.
I'm lucky because I don't have to teach Georgia standards. I've always tried to teach more higher order thinking. I usually do projects and a lot of, arts and fusion and that kind of stuff, and you can't do that online.
Some parents just don't really understand the work we put in to help their children become successful and not only become successful as a student, but, becoming independent human beings in general.
What we do, respecting us as professionals, and the educator's role is not childcare and is not to get your child through the grade, but it is to educate your child effectively.
Building community in your classroom and really teaching kids self-awareness and mindfulness is really important. And it's as important as math or reading.
Students aren't going to forget the challenges that they face trying to learn at home. It's been a struggle for some of my kids not to be able to see their classmates. So I believe this will be a year to remember.
On top of the required standards, these teachers explore values within their classroom that cannot be recorded on a test. Aside from providing a quality education and giving grades, it's not uncommon for teachers to play a larger role in their communities to make sure their students' needs are met. Teachers are the ones experiencing firsthand how children are affected by poverty, and because of their dedication, all of these teachers have gone above and beyond to show their support.
Mine is a socioeconomic situation. So I have parents who are grandparents who are raising children. I have, people working 2 and 3 jobs, working night shifts.
Students at the door every morning, and you can tell right away if a student had some kind of problem at home, like the morning of or the night before. And so they're coming in with a lot of kind of family baggage. A lot of these kids' home lives are not great, so being at school really is a safer place.
Because I had a girl last year who always wore a sweatshirt zipped up to her neck every day, whether it was 80 degrees or 30 degrees. So I made up a little fib and told her that my daughter had clothes in her closet with tags on them, and I went out and shopped for her, and I got 8 tops and had her go try them all on, and she kept them all. And so I've had kids who had their shoes duct taped together, and I bought them shoes. And usually I just make it come from an anonymous source sort of thing.
I've purchased clothes for children. I've put money in lunch accounts just so that they have those basic needs met. Because if they don't have that, it's really hard to work with them on academics.
Teachers' time is not really respected. In elementary school, there are days that I don't have a single break. And so you come in at 7:15, maybe you have hall duty at 7:30, and then you don't even have a bathroom break. We eat lunch with our kids. We take them to recess. There's not 1 second that I'm not with the kids until 3 o'clock.
Our school hours are 8 to 3, but it's not like an 8 to 3 job, that's for sure.
A lot of teachers put in so much extra time, coming in early, staying late, working on weekends. In the summers, we always have training.
I spend pretty much all but about 2 weeks in my summer working, either prepping materials for the next year or doing trainings or giving trainings or doing those sorts of things.
In the U.S., an average full-time job is 40 hours of work a week. An average elementary school day is 7 hours long, Monday through Friday, which is only about 35 hours a week. But most teachers do not walk into school right as the bell is ringing, averaging about 15 hours of additional time spent at school. All of the teachers I talk to spend about 8 to 10 hours a week on their homework, grading papers, answering emails, or writing lesson plans. Do some elementary addition, and these teachers work on average 60 hours a week. While working overtime hours, teachers have been fighting back for years.
Back in the year 2010, the governor of Wisconsin took away all of our collective bargaining rights, and not just teachers, but other state employees. And it was a difficult time because I was docked pay that day to be up at the Capitol rallying for what I believed was a very important right that teachers should have. Obviously, I don't feel like my voice was heard because we didn't win that battle, and therefore it's still affecting us today as far as virtually no pay raises and definitely not enough money to match the cost of living.
Teacher strikes like these are not uncommon across the country, but maybe it's because they're one of the lowest paid professionals. Teachers and other certified educators often have to work multiple jobs to make ends meet or to pay off their student loans. In states without teacher unions, teachers have to fight for every right, like higher pay, planning periods, and even bathroom breaks. SC for Ed is a group founded to fight for teachers' rights in South Carolina. Last year in 2019, they organized a rally that inspired thousands of teachers to gather right here at the Capitol in Columbia.
Looking at how much time we're meeting after school and things, that's been another. Our principal's done a great job. We've flipped several things in our, as far as meetings, so we can look at it on our own time and then be held accountable in different creative ways. We got a pay raise, but we're still behind the curve.
For the parents with elementary age students, they have had to become the homeschooled teacher. Within the first week of this switch, parents have quickly learned just some of the challenges that go into teaching their own children.
There's so much that's different about it. So I think parents will have an appreciation for education to some extent, but in the same respect, this is not teaching like you do in a classroom.
I think parents are valuing the importance of the teacher's role, that I'm finally hearing some appreciation for what I do, and that parents can't necessarily fly solo on this. They need to work with us, and we need to work together to help their child learn. I've gotten more positive feedback in the last 3 weeks than I've probably gotten in the last 3 school years.
The dedication these teachers have for changing kids' lives is unbelievable. But after lack of representation, compensation, and respect, I needed to know, what keeps you around and in the classroom?
Our principal leaves a message at the end of the announcements every day, and she always tells the kids to work hard and be nice. And I think that's a really good message because it's simple and straight to the point, and kids understand it. So
plan a day of teaching. I really try to come up with at least one thing that's going to be super fun that the kids do that day, so that even though you can't make everything fun, making one thing that they can go home and say, that was really fun, and we really learned a lot from that, or laughed a lot, or whatever. I'll never forget that. I think that is making learning fun.
I guess now that I don't have my commute every day, I don't have that time to kind of plan my day in my head, and then on the way home to kind of decompress. I kind of rely on that. But I guess every day I just say it's a new day. It's a new day. We can start fresh, and during the school year too, when we were at school, that's kind of how I approached every day.
This is a second career for me, and I was making more money in my first career. So to me, it's about making a difference. So the thing that keeps me going, working 50 and 60-hour weeks and doing way too much with not enough, is knowing that I'm changing. If it's 1 or 2 kids' lives, I'm changing somebody's life.
Thank you, teachers.
Thank you, teachers, for helping us before and after this virus.
Thank you to all the teachers around the nation.
Thank you, teachers, for all you do.
Thank you, teachers.
Thank you, Miss Hawkins. Thank you, Miss Whitfield. Thank you, teachers, for all you do. Thank you, teachers, for all you do. Miss Clark, it's Madison. Thank you for being my teacher.